Welcome back to Premier League Friday. The man there, Benjamin Šeško, is Man United's new super sub. So is it time for him to start? This week, Diogo Dalot sat down with our reporter Dan Kahn to discuss Šeško's goals, as well as the impact of Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo.
With the likes of Bryan Mbeumo, Benjamin Šeško, Matheus Cunha, feels like they're all thriving wearing that red shirt. What do you think has set them apart, maybe from other players you've seen at your time at the club?
Obviously, the first thing is always the quality. If they weren't quality players, they wouldn't sign for the club. But then, for you to be at Man United, for you to stay here for a long time, you need something else. And the biggest advantage, obviously, for Bryan and Cunha was they already knew the league. They already been playing England for a long time, so you could see straight away playing the game was a little bit easier for them. And then you can see now Ben is a really good mentality person, so he already knows that he needs to work really hard to be at this level. And you can see the differences, and you can feel when a player goes to the bench what type of profile he is. If he comes on 5 minutes, if he comes on 2 minutes, if he comes on 15, how does he react? Even if scoring goals the next game, he goes to the bench again, how do you react? And this is insights of big players, in my opinion. And he's still a young player, so he knows that he needs to work hard. He needs to work really hard. And I'm very happy that it's been like this, because we also need players that have that type of mentality. Not just starting games, but I'm pretty sure that he will play plenty of games.
Dan Kahn with Diogo Dalot there. Lads, he really is a super sub. And you look at the goals that he's scoring, there's some seriously important ones. I mean, Sid, for you, is it time for Šeško to start?
Yeah, look, confidence has turned. Since Michael Carrick's gone in there, everyone's got a spring in their step, but the goals that we see there, I mean, like,
There's 6 in his last 7 as well.
Yeah, really, really good. And you can see the turn as well. You can see him when he comes on. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to come on, I'm going to make an impact. I mean, this one here, he literally just look at the bottom of the screen, afterburners on. And what I love about this is he's still got a lot of time to that when that pass comes across, that's going to feel like an eternity to get to him. So he picks his spot. That could easily go 3-4 months ago over the bar or just wide. Now he's picking spots, he's hitting the target. It's really good to see.
I was going to say, as a player, to actually score, I mean, on telly as a fan, you look at it and go, oh, it's just him and the goalkeeper, he hits it. But as you say there, it feels like an eternity. And does it change your view on his mentality, maybe, that he's picked his spot and he's gone with it?
That's it, the confidence. Confidence in any player is huge. As a striker, more so. Because like there, you don't just go to hit the target, where I think beforehand he was probably happy to, just be on target and make the keeper save it. Yeah. Now he's pinpointing exactly where he wants to go, just inside the post. Like I said there, that one there that rolls across, you read the headlines before it comes, it's one of them where it takes ages, but there he just knows exactly what he's doing, head over the ball, as basic as it sounds, but top footballers it can get away from you sometimes, whereas now he's in really, really good form.
It's a tough one though, Julian, because he's great coming off the bench and getting those goals. So what do you do?
So I think the Mbeumo as number 9 worked well in some games, especially City away, Arsenal away, because of the space you're going to get. And as we saw in the last 2 games, the Everton one and the West Ham one before, Mbeumo as a 9 in those kind of games where the opposition leave you the ball and play quite deep, doesn't work out. And actually, the 2 assists that Mbeumo gave is once Šeško is on, and that's when United scored the 2 goals. So for me, in a game like that against Crystal Palace this weekend, where you would expect Palace to be a bit like that, play Mbeumo on the right, bench Ahmad, it's okay, he can come off the bench, and then start Šeško up front, have Cunha on the left, Bruno as a 10, dictating the play. And then that's probably, for me, the best setup for a game like this.
Yeah, I will say, for me, as a fan watching football, I think the biggest difference that I've seen in Michael Carrick's version of Man United and the standout player has been Sen Lammens. I think he's been fantastic, because I think he's just doing the basics, and it's what almost Man United have been crying out for from one of their goalkeepers. I mean, and when you look at it, £18.2 million for Lammens, do you think he's looking like one of the bargains of the season?
Yeah, and I think we were on the show together here when he just signed, and we had somebody.
Schwarzer.
Yes, exactly.
Talk about his positioning, yeah.
And we said he was very promising in Belgium. They've got high hopes for him really to at some point replace Courtois for the national team even. He only had 1 year playing as a pro in the first team at Antwerp, and that was it. But he had great qualities, especially on crosses like that. And on those corners I know we will talk about corners later on, but he was outstanding really to make himself like getting those balls and punching those balls out, and he was perfect. And I think he's even getting better, and he would get better as the season goes on. Once he understands the scale of the club and everything, and he's in the right mindset, he would get better and better.
As ever with Man United, there's always a lot of talk about the ownership and always a lot of noise around Ineos. But do you have to kind of give them their flowers for their transfer business? Because, I mean, it's looking like really smart business. There were moments where they were talking about Amorim wanted Emi Martinez and they've gone with someone like Lamens. Are they getting it right now, and those decisions that looked strange are now coming to fruition?
Yeah, I don't know about Sids, but for me, the Lamens one, Cunha and Bomo, they were always going to improve. They're really good Premier League players. So you paid maybe a little bit over the top, but they were good signings. Sesko is a bit more of a gamble because he's still very young and comes from the Bundesliga. But Lamens is the really one that they find, I think. And funny enough, I think he would have gone to Aston Villa if United had bought Emi Martinez. Yeah. Because Villa also identified him as a really good prospect. So for Lamens, yeah, well done, really, that's a good one.
I know Carrick's tested a lot of their mentality side of it. He's built this siege mentality to go, everyone outside this football club is here to shoot us down. Like, we know what we've got in this dressing room, who's going to stand up and knows what it takes to wear a Man United jersey, especially at Old Trafford or away from home, and have the bullets come and fire. Yeah. And they're certainly stepping up for that, especially the new signings as well.
They look like they're fighting. Like even Cunha at the end of that game was really, defending, giving it big to the crowd. Yeah. So different United. But that United faced Crystal Palace on Sunday, and the dramas around that club continue with Oliver Glasner seeing out his contract ahead of a confirmed departure in the summer. They're definitely looking over their shoulder in the Premier League as well. But despite the unease around Selhurst Park, they've now moved into the last 16 of the Conference League. Looking at Palace, is Europe a little bit of a blessing, or is it a curse? Because they could watch their form in the league slip because they're getting further and further.
Yeah, they can't go down really from the Premier League. No, they will finish around where they are now. Yeah. I think the big aim has to go and win this Conference League, which I think they can. Yeah. The draw was good for them today, Larnaca in the last 16, but then the half of the draw where they are can mean that I think they can look forward and potentially they are probably the best team in that competition, to be fair, to go all the way. And I know it's difficult with Glasner. I don't like what he says. I don't like his communication lately. I don't like his press conference. If you're not happy, just go. You don't have to wait until May. You can go now on your own. So I think there's tension there for sure, but they still have the best squad in this competition to win it.
Do you think he sees out the season?
I don't think he should, but I think he will. Yeah,
you do. I mean, it's been. Sid, what have you made of the Palace's trajectory since? If you go back to that FA Cup final and Community Shield and things like that,
everything was great, didn't it?
Yeah.
I know a lot of Palace fans, living not far from the area as well, and they honestly 4 weeks ago they loved him, absolutely loved him, and all of a sudden the relationships really become sort of fracas. I respect what he does because he says he wears his heart on his sleeve and he says, look, I say what I say and that's how I am, that's my makeup. But you just feel as though where they were and where they are now, he's had to deal with a lot as well. But I'm exactly the same as Jules there. The communication's just not been right, and it could be done in a different way. The Palace fans have loved Europe. Got to say that they've loved travelling. They've loved that experience. Team that's not going to get relegated. It's all great for the football club at the minute, but it just feels like where they were to now, it's just sort of dampered down a little bit.
Do you think for them it's keep Glasner because of those European places, and it just let the league kind of do what it does?
What, to the end of the season?
Yeah. Because there's a lot of Palace fans going, get him out, we want someone new, come in.
Banners at the home game against Wolves.
Exactly. But realistically, he's doing the job in Europe, and this is a great chance for them.
Yeah, I think he sees it out to the end. And as well, if he goes, you don't want to rush into... Palace are a real established Premier League football club now. They're in a good position, they're in a good place, a healthy place. If they're looking for a new manager, which they obviously are behind the scenes, is that going to be when the season's done? Is that manager at a club already? Then they've had discussions and it's going to come in, and they've got to tread a real fine line, because we've seen with clubs beforehand that make real rash decisions, it can quickly sort of escalate.
Absolutely. Well, you can see Man United against Palace on Super Sunday.
The spotlight returns to Manchester United as they prepare for a crucial showdown against Crystal Palace, a fixture that could say a lot about the direction of their season. Momentum has started to build at Old Trafford, and with confidence slowly returning to the squad, the big question is whether United can extend their winning run and turn consistency into a serious statement of intent. Recent performances have shown sharper movement in attack and improved defensive discipline. The midfield has looked more balanced, the pressing more coordinated, and the decision-making in key moments more composed. However, Crystal Palace are never an easy opponent. They are organized, physically competitive, and dangerous on the counter-attack. If United switch off for even a few minutes, Palace have the quality to punish them. What makes this match particularly important is timing. A winning streak in the Premier League can completely transform the narrative around a team. Confidence grows, belief spreads through the dressing room, and suddenly top four conversations become realistic rather than hopeful. Drop points, though, and the pressure quickly returns. United's attacking players will need to be clinical. Creating chances has not always been the issue. Converting them consistently has been the difference between dominance and frustration. Against a disciplined Palace side, patience and precision will be key. Control the tempo, avoid sloppy transitions, and maintain defensive focus. That's the formula. Beyond this fixture lies the bigger debate. Where will Manchester United finish in the table? If their current momentum continues and injuries remain manageable, a top four finish is achievable. The squad has enough talent to compete for Champions League qualification, but it requires sustained consistency, something that has eluded them in recent seasons. If the winning run extends and performances continue to improve, United could realistically finish third or fourth. However, if inconsistency creeps back in, they may find themselves battling for fifth or sixth instead. The margins in the Premier League are razor thin, and a few poor weeks can undo months of progress. Ultimately, the clash with Crystal Palace is about more than 3 points. It is about proving that this resurgence is real. Extend the winning run, and belief strengthens. Slip up, and doubts resurface. As the season intensifies, every match feels like a defining chapter, and this one could shape where Manchester United finally land when the table is settled.